453 days since now 16-year-old Sebastian Rogers vanished from his home in Hendersonville. His disappearance sparked national headlines, but now his father says the case is losing momentum. With National Missing Children's Day coming up on Sunday, he is raising his voice and demanding urgency. News 2's Caitlin.
I went and talked to neighbors, and every single one of them, every single one, welcomed me. And if they had video surveillance, they gave it to me. The only person that would not talk to me, as the only person that had something to hide and wouldn't talk to me. You know, she has a son that's hiding and waiting for somebody in the dark, late night on the 25th. And there needs to be some explaining for that. I'll just leave it at that.
That we are going to keep searching, we are going to keep looking, we are going to find him, and we are going to bring him home.
Since we first aired the video last month, authorities have said no evidentiary value.
It is of no evidentiary value. It is of no evidentiary value.
Can you tell me what those lights are?
No.
Why?
Because the investigation remains ongoing.
Yeah, I'm working on behalf of Sebastian. I am not, my client is Sebastian, and they're the guardians that have the ability to sign.
It just started. Hi, Dad. I know this is gonna sound weird, but tomorrow's picture day. So could you send some decent clothes over to me so that I can wear the decent clothes and be handsome for my birthday with all decent clothes? Mom.
Because our heart is missing. He is my world. I need him. I need him back with me.
All right, we are live. Welcome, everybody. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Let's see, just that right there. Mic check. Okay, mic looks good. Let me know how the volume sounds on my mic, if we're all good on this end. As always, thank you guys taking the time out of your day to watch the show. I got a great show prepared to you. I know the last few shows have been a lot, more kind of math, science, and stuff like that. And I know some of that can be interesting, but at times may not be as more interactive with the chat, with the way some of that's presented. So today's live, I'm going to try to make it more interactive and kind of put out with some facts or close to that and put a narrative together, or a couple of different narratives anyway. But got a lot to go over, and some new other things that I can kind of hint at that I'm not sure if we've touched on this channel. So a lot of different stuff. Hey Rhonda, good to see you. Moon Magic, me and you. B&W, good to see you. Happy Rapper, hope you're doing well. Chicky, good to see you. Sassy, thank you so much for the help and support. And thank you, Pocahontas, and all my mods. If you have any questions, please ask one of my mods. But all right, let's get going here. Let me get this all situated here. There's what is going on? There we go. Get this all situated here first. There's my man Silver's there. Just got back from searching. What an amazing guy. I always like to shout him out. I just so much respect for him. Such an amazing guy. Okay, so let me turn this down here. Good to see you, Hindsight. Hope you're doing well. Kiki, I think I got your email. Thank you so much. Good to see you. Heather, whatever. Sorry. Heather, good to see you. Show Poodles. Good evening, Chris. Hope you're doing well, Poodles. All right, let's get into it. Okay. All right. So, last couple lives, we talked about a little bit about the 3M vehicle and, some of the things that I was able to discover that I think kind of backs up the possible size of this vehicle. I'm not really going to go over that because obviously we've touched on that the last couple days. I do find it very interesting, but it does help support the theory that this car is, likely a sedan post 2015-ish, just with, the little bit that we can examine with the lights and stuff like that. So anyway, we touched on this yesterday, but we're going to go a little bit deeper on this, and then we're going to start so make it more interactive with the chat and kind of build up a narrative as well, so we can kind of theorize. So that way, it's a little bit more entertaining, so I can kind of interact with the chat more. So we touched on this 3D scanner, which again is huge. It shows that by day 10-ish, day 10 or 11-ish, or even probably before, but this is when they started doing it, is, they clearly came across something after that first week, in my opinion, probably footage and other stuff we may not be aware of, that caused them not only to do this scan, which we'll kind of talk about, learned a little bit more about these scanners and who has them. And again, they're very expensive. They're not just something that they just roll out for anything. And we'll kind of touch a little bit deeper on that. And then we'll get into the connection with the neighbor a little bit. And then we'll go over a little bit of the timeline, and a lot of good stuff. And then we'll touch on some stuff that we haven't. I'm pretty sure we haven't talked about on this channel. I've heard some rumors about it, and we'll kind of have to be a little bit cryptic about it, but I think you guys will get the idea. So let's get started. So here we are. This, from what I understand, this is taken somewhere around March 7th or March 7th or March 8th, which is day 10 or 11, somewhere around in there. And if anybody hasn't seen the last live or last two lives, but I think the last live is when I first mentioned this. But this is a 3D scanner. They're in the backyard. We'll kind of show everything, but I also have part of the clip of this. It's not very long, but there's something interesting about this clip. So let's play this here. Oh, I'm sorry, Marsha. I don't know why you got timed out. It's sometimes Nightbot's weird. It's just for 5 seconds, so Nightbot's weird. I'm sorry, Marsha. I think there's something going on. Believe me. Okay, so this doesn't have any volume to it, but okay. I'm going to play it normal speed. Again, it's just like a 3-second clip, and then I'm going to play, I'm going to slow it down and see if you guys notice the position of these gentlemen, especially a certain individual that you may or may not recognize, depending on how familiar you are with this case. Windy Moo, thank you so much. 8 months now. Always look forward to your lives. Great work. Thank you so much, Windy. That means the world to me. Again, I would not be doing this without you guys and your support. So, all right. So I'm going to play it. It's real quick. And I'm going to zoom in. Actually, let me back this up. Play the first one without it zoomed in. Okay, right here. So it's going to play here in just a second. 3, 2, 1. I should have put some kind of fade away so I knew when it was going to switch into the video mode because I know if I touch it, I'm going to skip past it because it's only like 3 seconds because it's just B-roll footage that Court TV's playing. Here it is. So here it is. There's Craddock. He's speaking with, I'm just going to assume the taller guy is TBI. I could be wrong, but I could tell you from what I've studied, that is likely coming from TBI, the 3D scanner. From what I was researching, it looks like Sumner County occasionally bids on one of these pieces of equipment. Again, I understand AI and ChatGPT isn't 1,000%, always 100% correct. It has its flaws, but it does make sense that a TBI would have one of these because, again, these are anywhere from the range of 30,000 to 60,000. And again, it's just not something you see. So let me slow this down and zoom in. And yeah, so look where Craddock is. So Craddock's in the middle, for those who don't know, Sheriff Craddock, which in my opinion is sus. And I think there's a division, and I think even Nerdy Addict mentioned this. And I, in my opinion, behind the scenes, I think there's, and I think Nerdy even said this, where Sumner County doesn't believe that there's any kind of foul play. Makes me wonder, why they're so certain about that, or is there, deeper connections where there might be some corruption? I hate going that way, but there is a lot of funky signs that point that direction. And then you got TBI, which I think does feel like this is more than just a runaway. But look where Sheriff Craddock is, and of course, look which direction they're looking. And I'll show a top-down view if you're not familiar with this, but you can see which direction they're clearly looking. Again, I wish there was like more of this clip. I don't know if there is, but do you see where Craddock is compared to the TBI agent and the 3D scanner? Do you see his arms? And again, if you're not familiar with the area, we'll show overhead, but I don't think I can turn off Nightbot once I start my live, if I recall. I don't know. I might have to text it. Just let me know how it's acting. Sometimes it's gonna, be funky sometimes. Which one is Craddock? Craddock is this one here. Let me back it up. Craddock is in the middle. And I think, in my opinion, I think this is probably a TBI agent. But look, so they have backyards, right? So the Proudfoot's backyard, we're going to look at a top-down view. They each have a backyard with a fence. And then between their fences is, I don't know, because I haven't been out there. It looks like it's anywhere from, I don't know, 3 to 5 feet wide, probably a little bit more closer to 5 feet or something like that. Between the two backyards, there's a pathway. Do you see where Craddock is? What yard? He's not in the middle. I think it's very interesting. Yeah, Craddock is here. And that kind of looks like Craddock, but I'm like 90% sure that pretty sure that's Craddock, right? Maybe he's on the far left. Either one. Both of those gentlemen, but I'm pretty sure it was the guy in the middle. Yeah. So there he is. And so basically that's the stink feet. And then we have the car backyard. And what's interesting is he is in car's backyard, which I find very interesting. And this will, go deeper. Is it the far left one? I don't know. Either one of those is Craddock. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I feel like the one in the middle is Craddock, but either way, The main thing is the guy, both of those gentlemen are in Carr's backyard. That's the main thing. Yeah, on the other side of the fence, basically. Thank you, Michelle. I find that very interesting, and again, we'll get a little bit further into it. And so yeah, that's where they're looking. Of course, they're looking south where the lights were, which we kind of went over. And we'll touch on some data I got, but then we'll move over to some theories and some new stuff. That way I can interact with chat a little bit more. No, I don't think, no, the guy on the far right's definitely not. The guy's bald. Craddock has hair. As a matter of fact, here, let me pause it. I should have just shown Craddock. Where is Craddock here? Oh, okay, so we're at 46. Oh, I know I have Craddock, but he's probably like, there's Craddock right there. I just don't think he's in full uniform like 46. Yeah, because look at his hair. He's got that short hair. And the beard and mustache. I mean, this guy does too. But I don't think Craddock's very tall. This guy looks like a taller guy. This guy is definitely taller. I'm pretty sure that's Craddock in the middle. Let me know. I could be wrong. But it looks pretty striking to me. But anyway, the main point is these guys being on Carr's side, which we'll kind of talk about and get that connection there. Yeah, I think it is. I could see why people think on the far left too, because he does have like that short hair as well. But when he kind of looks, again, it's not because obviously the foot is kind of far away. But so this is only a report I'll go over a little bit, so we can get more into. Poker Science says definitely, yeah. I'm pretty sure it is the one in the middle. Anyway, so we kind of went over this yesterday, so I'm not going to go too much, but man, somebody sent me something yesterday, I think, another report on these scanners, some very interesting stuff, just kind of, and I'll probably get this eventually the same stuff, but if you missed it yesterday, basically one of the things that so let's just go over, and I'm just going to briefly recap on this because I know I went over it yesterday. But these things are mainly used for accident crash reconstruction, crime scene, and they say search and rescue. But again, I think that's not a lot. And then also it talks about how they might map out houses or yards. And obviously that would be more towards they're looking for evidence, right? And then obviously they use this for courtroom presentation. Anyway, it goes over how it works. We talked about that. It's really amazing. It basically just does a 360 and it just maps out everything in the environment. It's literally taken thousands and thousands of photos, and it's literally just recreating a 3D model of wherever it's positioned. And then, and like I said, it's a lot of data. It's very expensive, but there's a reason why it's in that position. And the reason that it's in that position is because, let me do this real quick. Blink. I don't know why. Every time I zoom in, this thing wants to pop over. It drives me nuts. Don't do it. Stop it. Anyway, so they're sitting here and they're looking south. They got the scanner here. And again, we're only seeing one photo or video or little clip. So clearly, they could have been inside the house using that. They could have been over here. But the main thing, and when I ran it with ChatGPT, is we know the 3M lights are moving over here. But obviously, because it's really dark, there's only so much that they can discern from that video, right? We've seen it a million times on this channel. But when you add in this 3D, the two main brands is Faro, and then I think it's Leica or something like that. Anyway, the 3D scanner, the reason it's on that side is because that's obviously where the footage and the movement of the subjects are going, right? And so what it's doing is now it's mapping everything out where it believes those lights were happening on the opposite side, because they're in that area. And then this gives them all this. Now, since I can build a 3D replica, it gives them coordinates, distance, and stuff. And then basically what they can do is, after they've recreated a 3D image of that area, that backyard and common area, they can now put in the 3M video from the guy on the corner where the two subjects are moving. And now, using the 3D model, they can add that in, and now they can tell, I don't know how exact, accurate it is, but I'm sure it's pretty accurate. But, it'll give them, a better idea without just kind of guessing, right? Kind of like how we've been. They'll actually be able to tell, like, how far away they are from a particular house, how fast the lights were moving, how far were they apart, what was the distance they moved. I mean, it's amazing. So anyway, we kind of touched on that yesterday, so I'm just kind of briefly going over that. As you can see, smaller departments do not usually own a 3D scanner. They're $30,000 to $60,000 per unit, not cheap. So I asked him what kind of what agencies would have this, and I mentioned Sumner County, TBI, and FBI. And here was the answer. So with Sumner County, it said most likely not. TBI, yes, makes more sense, and it believes that TBI would most likely. And of course, FBI has them as well, but it says they wouldn't use it unless it was a federal case, obviously. And so out of the possibilities, who brought that in would be TBI. I think that's very important, because remember, we were kind of building up this narrative where it feels like TBI is on one side, right? And Sumner County, for some reason, is on the other fence, figuratively and literally. So then, okay, yeah, we'll leave it there. I had somebody send me an email with some even more interesting data about how much often these things are really used, especially in cases like this. And it is very, I'm sure it'll start to become more common, but usually these things are, when it comes to crime, or, if it's not accident reconstruction or any other things, it's typically for, crimes, foul play, and they're trying to preserve a scene, or in this case, they're trying to get distances of what those lights were. So I think they started looking at that footage, probably got more footage, and then so that happened again somewhere around March 7th, March 8th, and then here's what happened around that same time.
Certainly not The update you wanted. Today is day 11 in the search for Sebastian, a 15-year-old who has autism. His parents say he went missing from his Sumner County home. The TBI issued an Amber Alert for him.
Our Marissa Sulik joins us live from that landfill in Hopkins County, Kentucky. And Marissa, what can you tell us about the search efforts today?
Well, Marius, it looks like just a few minutes ago they
have... I'm so sorry. Cooper, thank you for the 14 months. Chris, do you have audio? And if you do, can you play? Are you talking about audio from like the surveillance footage that I've been getting? Again, I'm taking a wild guess. Let me know in chat if he's been a little bit more specific. Because you bring up a great point. If you're talking about that. If not, let my mods know. I'm kind of curious on what you're talking about or referring to, like which audio.
Have started to wrap up at least today's investigation here. We saw some cars drive away, so it looks like whatever was happening today has been completed until they decided to look further if that is an option. However, we are here at the Hopkins County Regional Landfill. It's about an hour and a half north of Nashville. And this is where Sumner County Sheriff's Office says that the trash from Sebastian's neighborhood would end up. Now, you can see from the video we got earlier, about a dozen investigators were combing through the dirt and debris here. They are mainly looking, at least in the front portion of this landfill from where we are. You can also see that they were using an excavator, at some point to dig up that same area. Again, there's no evidence or information that indicates Sebastian could be here. Sumner County Sheriff's Office says this is a precautionary measure to eliminate any possible questions and options. We also asked Sumner County Sheriff's Office if they had any other information or planned to have a press conference. They said that that would not happen today as they were very focused on looking for Sebastian. Marius, Lauren.
Okay, yeah, they went. So this is, I think, March 8th. I think the press conference was on April 2nd. I think hindsight would probably... I know she's really good with dates. From the flashlight video, no. I know there's maybe a couple of channels, maybe even more. And I know even before that, there was supposedly a leaked audio. I can tell you guys from that camera, that guy did not have audio. That guy had no audio on his cameras. So, if there's any audio, it's not coming from that camera. So, there could be audio out there, but from that particular camera, no. No audio on his camera.
Circled here in an area behind the teen's home. Since we first aired the video last month, authorities have said...
No evidentiary value?
It is of no evidentiary value.
Can you tell me what those lights are?
No.
Why?
Because the investigation remains ongoing.
And so it could play a role down the road depending on developments?
We don't know what we don't know. So yes, it could play a role.
So many are, of course, closely following this case.
So, of course, I had to play that because we'll start to kind of build this narrative here and possible connections. Maybe, again, I told you guys, I hate, the corruption thing. I always feel like that's an easy cop-out. But in this case, I really feel like it's a good possibility to some extent. Kiki, good to see you. Did they check transfer stations? Oh, I don't know. I know we have a lot of good people in here that may be able to answer that question. But yeah, it's always, I think they should always have like a master, what would you call it? Master diagram, master, I want to say Excel, but not Excel. But you guys know what I mean, like a master overview. Yeah, that's a great word. Overview of what they have done. Like we've seen, just like in the case in Nova Scotia with the kids, we saw their map of what they've done. And, like I said, this is like newer technology. Where now they have the apps where they can use Catalpo and Onyx Hunt is the other one. It's a popular one. Anyway, Chris, someday all this effort will pay off. Thank you so much, Geneva. God bless. A lot of things are happening. Oh, thank you, Hindsight. Yeah, she's awesome. Oh, nice. We are going to play a part of the dispatch because we're going to connect all this together. Okay.
He said, well, it's unlocked. I said, try.
Right,
and there's TPPA, and the judge ruled on it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that the middle one is Craddock. I think he's just kind of like, and what makes me even interesting is it looks like he's almost like off duty, but like they're maybe on there to just keep an eye on things. And again, keep in mind which side of the fence he's on.
When like people are like trying to hide something or whatever, and you don't, like, you two, there's never like a stop. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy to me.
The due process has to be done correctly, which because they filed a TPPA and the judge ruled on it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's Craddock, but anyway. Okay. So let's see. Okay, yeah, I know we're gonna go with this. So I'm gonna start talking about the connection with the neighbor, right? A little bit more. Now this video starts out, I know I played this a million times, and I'm only gonna just play a part of it because I just want to point out one thing that we know of. Now, of course, I'm sure there's probably more to this video. Obviously, there definitely is from this 3am video. But from the recording we have, it starts out with subject 1 already over this area here, more towards the Chris Carr property in between. Because remember, this is Chris Carr's house right here. We have one house here. You know, we have, I don't know why it's doing that. Every time I'm zooming in and out, it never does that. It's driving me nuts. I wonder if I need to refresh this. If I put it up like that. I don't know. That is driving me nuts. Why is it? That is weird. It never does that. That's going to drive me nuts. Anyway. I'm not even zooming in and out. Stop it. So this is that house, and then this is cars, or this is cars. I'm sorry. So we have two homes, and then this is cars. But anyway, the main thing is we have the subject 1, you know, is on this side, where subject 2 is going to be over here. I know subject 2 is going to cross over, but I just wonder, and of course, what I meant to point out, I actually can see part of his house. His house is right here. There's the second house. There's the first house on the corner. Second one. There's cars, and then there's his shed back there. Anyway, I just think it's interesting, you know, again, to keep an open mind on all things.
You know, keeping Sebastian's name out.
You know, this video starts out, and again, there could definitely be where maybe subject 1 and 2 both come out. Maybe subject 1 leads first, and then they started recording. Or maybe subject 1 comes the other way and then comes back, you know, who knows. But let's just say if it did kind of start out this way, where just all of a sudden a light appears on this side and subject 2, so we could say allegedly this is KK and this could be Carr. Again, just saying. And I still believe Crispy's involved. But I do find it interesting that the video starts with subject 1 over here in this area. And then at the end of the video, when we see the subject, which I believe is subject 2 just running back, which is KK running back after whatever they did with the car. Either they put Sebastian in the car or they went to grab his clothing if they had already traded him out. the other interesting thing, just to mention really quick, is at the end of this video, this one I think goes short. But there's one little light just after it shoots over. I pointed this out a bunch of times, but you can see one light literally blink. I wish I didn't have this overlay because it's actually in this video. Actually, I'm showing that right now. Anyway, I find that interesting. And then the video ends. So after that subject is running back towards the Stink Feet home, you have this subject around this area flicker on, and then sadly the video ends. It'd be interesting to see what happened, but again, just open theory on Chris Carr maybe being the one that's subject one. We'll kind of talk more about why I think that's just as good as possibility as Crispy. Oh, Lori. Oh my gosh. You're multitasking. That's awesome. Katrina. Oh, are you talking about email me? I'm not sure if you are. I do try to respond as much as I can. Again, sometimes it's busy. Or if you're talking about in the chat. Keep in mind, I've got 700 people, so, but I am going to try to kind of pause it and read chat here for a minute. Yeah, I think that audio, again, all I know for sure, and I'm telling you this, like I said, I know like 99% that home does not have any audio. That camera is not equipped with audio. So if there is audio, which there always could be, there's tons of other cameras around these places. It would have to come from another one. Okay. So, let me back this up. So, and I wish I had a little bit more time, but I wanted to kind of go through, connect this whole Chris Carr, but I'm gonna call him Carly just for legal reasons. So we got KK, Crispy, and Carly. Hopefully that makes sense. I was thinking about Chris too, but I think Carly's easier. Anyway, so we have Katie and Crispy here, but obviously, with Sebastian's thing going on, this caused a divide with them. Obviously, CPS reports started happening. Sebastian, he was doing terrible things to Sebastian, which resulted in 5 CPS reports, which then caused them to, he couldn't be around when Sebastian was around. And so obviously Katie needed some help. And there's been rumors that they've been, and again, I hate talking about rumors this, kind of shallow, but I think there is a little bit of meat to it that, they're alleged swingers or a little bit open relationship. Now we have the neighbor, Carly, we'll call him. I think he has a wife, but she's ill. I'm not going to go any deeper in that. But obviously we've even seen, if I had time, I would have pulled up I don't know if it was a Facebook message or something, but where somebody talked about, that they believed that these two, were kind of having an affair or whatever. And it's rumored that he was helping Katie out. And it kind of makes sense, right? They live right back, back to back to each other. Chris is gone for a good portion, and she's got, Sebastian to herself, and so, maybe need help around the house or whatnot. And so, you got him allegedly coming around and helping out. Again, this is more on the speculation side of things, but I think there is probably some weight to that. I love the nicknames. Yeah, because I want to be careful because if I just say car, anyway, because these people, with everything going on, and we'll get deeper into that as well. But yeah, I think Carly, that makes sense, right? Carly. Just played audio earlier today. I believe she said it was from behind the Proudfoots. If it was from the Proud, then it would be from Car's audio, which it would have audio because he has I think he has a Ring Pro. I think it's called a Ring Pro. And yeah, so his camera would have audio for sure. Yeah, 5 reports. Yeah, and it's funny. Oh man, I wish I would record it. I'm sure Hindsight would probably have it. There's one where Crispy's talking about. He's talked about it so many times, been questioned, and of course he's always tried to, backtrack on it and say, oh, there's only like 3, or something like that, and somehow like 1 became 3, or I don't know. There's been so many versions, and then there was one I found where he's either on like Queen Bee or Cluminati, and they basically ask him about the CPS reports again and mention the number 5, and he says like something like no comment or something. Again, I'm super paraphrasing here, but he basically more or less admitted to it, which I thought was wild because I had not heard that before. Anyway, we almost got 800 people in here. Awesome. Thank you guys so much. If you can, hit that like button. Yeah, not only was there 5 CPS reports, and this has been, I think, talked about on Justin Clutch and Pearl. So, but Sebastian had to also write up a report about what happened. And yeah, I think this has been mentioned on many channels before. And I think some people have seen it, like PIs or whatever, where it's been working behind the scenes, and of course law enforcement, and but apparently, from what I understand, and maybe Hindsight could probably help paraphrase it better, but from what I understand, it was really horrible, so bad that they didn't want to show Seth. So think about that. That whatever Sebastian wrote about what Crispy was doing to him, it was so bad that I believe they were afraid to show Seth. And let me know. I think Hindsight could probably, and I'm sure some few others, but I mean, it's pretty disturbing, right? Resin Mom says audio allegedly came from the neighborhood chat. It was put into a chat, and I think it was Justin that took it. Yeah. Kathy, have you verified if Carly didn't turn over? I don't know. That's such a great question, Kathy. Really, I think that's probably one of the biggest pieces of evidence out there would be his footage. Oh, they did show Seth. But either way, all I know is it was really, really bad. Maybe it was they were afraid to show him that. Maybe I misunderstood. I think Hindsight, if she's still here, I think she would. I know she'd probably set that. But again, I know Justin Clutch and Pearls has talked about that. So yeah, I think he's seen the CPS reports. I know that, but I know there was a report that was written by Sebastian himself. And yeah, it's really disturbing. Okay, so I thought it'd be kind of fun to, instead of those last few lives where I've been just really doing like the math and the estimates and stuff, which I think is exciting, and we need those kind of reports, stuff that actually has substance, so we can put that all together, and yeah. So anyway, moving on. Yeah, I know he's seen the CPS stuff, but I think there's like another report. Again, yes. Yes. Thank you, Mama. Yeah. Yeah, it's like you have the CPS reports, and then you have something that he was doing with the counselors. Yeah, that sounds right. And it was very long. Again, I don't know what's in it. I just know, the word disturbing. And again, I can't remember if they did show it to Seth. I just know they were afraid to show it to Seth because of what he may do, because apparently it was that disturbing. So, all right, moving on, because we're going to start listening to some stuff. That way I can interact with chat a little bit more and theorize. And again, there's going to be some stuff we haven't talked about on this channel before. So I promise you this will be interesting. But let's kind of go back to Texas Roadhouse. And of course we have the green hoodie lady, which I do believe that she's a part of this. I mean, what are the odds, right? Again, this would be one of the biggest coincidences. You have somebody, and of course, the way Katie acts, if this was a stranger, why would you just walk right up to them? I know Katie can handle herself because I know I know she does like mixed martial art, but still, and I think it's just interesting that they're right between the two cars where even though there's cameras, whatever they may or may not be doing, they're in between cars. So kind of interesting. And of course, that lady, green hoodie, just goes in and uses the restroom. She just came from an area that has plenty of public restrooms. So if she needed to use the restroom so bad, why didn't she just use one where she had came from? Doesn't make sense. Anyway, of course, I kind of mentioned that it appears that she put something in her ear. Actually, I'm like 90% sure she does. And I think she was probably getting directions, maybe handed a burner phone. Because remember, she has a dash cam that's got audio recording inside, but remember, the video is only recording the outside, what's in front of them. So, she could just be getting instructions, and obviously, nobody would know, law enforcement wouldn't know, because obviously the camera's, looking out. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I mean, I'd be kind of mixed on that, Melissa. I mean, I see what you're saying. You would think, yeah, I could see 50-50 because, a lot of people, there's a lot of people that are afraid to come out because people being attacked. But I think, when, was it Sumner County or was it TBI? I want to say it's Sumner County. I'll have to go back and look. Who said that, after Dog released this, that they found this person within three days and then cleared him? Come on. That sounds ridiculous. How did they not watch this footage and see that happening? That's a great question, Sandy. And I've been trying to do it myself, but she, unless there's other cameras, I think there is other cameras in the Texas Roadhouse, but I don't know if they've those particular footage has been recorded over. Yeah, it would be nice to be able to do that. All right, moving on, because we're going to kind of put this together as well. No, they say, so Mimi, this person went to the ladies' restroom. So just because I know we were saying Green Hoodie Man for quite a while, but then Dog had released, because we had only seen the outside footage and just limited inside footage. But then Dog released the footage where it shows her going in. She goes to the ladies' restroom. So that's, and then I believe they obviously, we've gone over it. Texas Roadhouse and Dog's team exchanged a telephone call and I think emails. We've gone over it before, and they even said like they had no idea who this person is. They're not a regular. And yeah. Yeah, the bowling alley, I don't know how much I can say. I've heard a few things. I know Crispy, because he's the one that does 99% of the talking out of the two. He said that, and even I think Katie's talked about it a little bit, obviously, made it sound like, they had a great time. I even found a quote where they said, yeah, they were laughing, seen actually on camera laughing and stuff. All I can say is I've heard, and even Seth has kind of said this, so I don't think it'd be a big deal. Is basically the opposite. Begin, but take that with a grain of salt. But apparently, before that, I believe at the bowling alley. And again, I can't get into specific details, but from what I understand, it wasn't. It didn't look happy, and that's all I can really say. Yeah. But I could understand how people could get confused because it was, when it first came out, it was like Green Hoodie or Green Hoodie Guy. Anyway, so here's the trip back, right? And one of the scenarios, and like I said, I'm like 60-40 on it, but there's a reason why I'm kind of going back and over this again, is I do definitely think it's possible. And if I had more time, I would dive into what we dive into a couple of weeks ago where Silver's on the scene, had spoken to some people that thought they had seen Katie at one of these intersections near a gas station. And it's possible that he could have, Green Hoodie was kind of like a third party to where, she shows up to say like, yeah, this is on. And, as she's driving halfway home, maybe, down a kind of a more desolate road, she would, a car would just pull up and they would just switch out Sebastian. So, you would have some audio of him in the car in the beginning. And then, of course, he's probably a quiet boy and maybe she kicks on tunes to make it seem like it's all normal. But now he's already been moved from the vehicle. Again, just one side of the theory, but I'll show why I believe that could be connect to Carly. So then, either way, whatever happens, either she may have switched Sebastian out halfway home or somewhere on the way back home, or that didn't happen and Sebastian did make it home. And then, of course, there's the, was it him that walked the garbage can out? I would think if it was him and it was clearly, you could at least make him out, even if it was grainy, but it was enough. In my opinion, I think law enforcement would release like a screenshot of that. So that makes me a little suspicious. They did the arcade, Hillarette. There was like a bowling tournament. I forget how long they were there. I think they were longer than 10 minutes, but yes, I've seen that girl, Mom. It's been a minute. But yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Doesn't it say like he was last seen on Stafford Court? Anyway, I want to get to this phone call. So, and we're going to get into Crispy and Carly as well. So, of course, they get home. Then this weird 3-hour phone call. And I kind of went back and wanted to kind of listen to a couple of clips that I've got for you guys. I want you guys to notice there's two things I kind of noticed in this. But this person, I don't know if this one brings it up or not, but they kind of do. So, there's the 3-hour call somewhere between 9 and midnight with Crispy and Katie. Now, she allegedly, in that time of the span of this, I think it's less than 3 hours, but, around 3-hour phone call, you have a thud that happens around 10, allegedly. And she speaks to Sebastian, and then she's reading her book and studying, and then she's also speaking with Crispy, right? So let's listen to this, because is all this really going on, or is there a reason why she may be telling the truth partially about reading a book and falling asleep? Did Crispy leave his phone? He called Katie, left his phone in Memphis. She's pretending to talk to him, and he's now on his way to Henderson.
That night, Miss Proudfoot, at midnight when you went to bed, what did you do until midnight?
I had been reading a chapter that I needed to, and I had been talking to my husband on the phone. I was falling asleep on him, so that's when he told me it was around midnight. He told me to go ahead and put the dogs up and go to bed, and that's what I did. I got
perfect alibi right there. I'm falling asleep. Oh, it's midnight. He's telling me to go to bed. So now it's making it seem like, yep, he's on the other end who's in Memphis, right? That's the narrative, right? Or did he just call her, leave the phone? So now she's just got the phone on with the call going. He's got his phone, one of his phones, there in Memphis. Now he's driving, a different vehicle back.
Put the dogs where they sleep, and then I myself went to bed.
Where in bedroom?
He wasn't actually in the home at all that weekend.
You were not home.
Yeah.
Okay, so where were you, Mr. Proudfoot?
I was in Memphis, Tennessee.
Okay, and I've mentioned this before, but I want to show you guys. I think I may have shown this once, and I'm sure others have probably caught this, but this is so fascinating. And this is, again, you know how like sometimes they say like when people are lying, they try to give too much details, right? And then also notice how they're always looking down and almost looking. So my camera's here, right? When I'm looking at the chat, But what if they had notes? You know, they have the monitor. I'm sure they could see Nancy, right? They're probably, I'm assuming, on Zoom maybe or something like it. I would not be surprised if they, and let me know what you guys think in chat. If we had time, I'd watch, you know, a good portion of this. But I do notice that they're looking a lot of the time almost like down at the bottom of the monitor. And I do wonder, do they have, like, you know, their main notes, you know, sitting in front of them? So anyway, yeah, so listen to this.
How far away is that?
3 hours and 37 minutes from doorstep to doorstep.
3 hours and 37 minutes, doorstep to doorstep. I know we've gone over this, but again, this is all connected to a bigger picture. But I find that so fascinating.
And what were you doing in Memphis?
Working. No,
okay,
ma'am.
so where were you, Mr. Proudfoot?
I was in Memphis, Tennessee.
How far away is that?
3 hours and 37 minutes from doorstep to doorstep.
And look at that. When you punch in Memphis to Hendersonville, 3 hours and 37 minutes. Come on. I'm sure he looked that up, pulled that out. And I think he wants them, you know, because they had this 3 hour call. And then, you know, this takes 3 hours and over 3 hours to make the trip, you know. So another kind of reinforcing this, so there's no way he could, you know, get, you know, over there. But we've heard that you can do it. I forget, maybe somebody knows in chat. Like, I think you can definitely do it under 3 hours, you know, obviously depending on how fast and, you know, how much you want to break the law. But I heard it definitely can be done, definitely, because with that, that's 230 miles. So, you know, I'm sure you could make up a lot of time for sure. Oh, thank you. I'm sure other people have caught that, but I find that very interesting. Again, that's just such a unique detail. It just also makes me think he left his phone there.
And what were you doing in Memphis?
Working.
Our conversation held between. What do you make of a 3 hour conversation held between Mrs. Proudfoot and Mr. Proudfoot the night Sebastian disappears?
The 3 hour phone call bothers me because, again, that's a long time to be on the phone. And, you know, you're hearing your son supposedly, he's answering you supposedly during that time, but you don't go check on him at all. You know, did somebody leave their phone just on while they went and did something else? I don't know. But I agree with Joe Scott. The electronics are going to tell the story. When his mama first entertained the idea that somebody...
Yes, I'm very familiar with St. Jude's. You said you were working there. Are you no longer working there?
Right now, that's up in the air.
Well, you've been gone ever since Sebastian went missing, so I understand.
I love Nancy.
When you are home, do you two sleep in the same bedroom?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this a 3-bedroom home?
Cameras and may have picked something up.
Gotcha. I want to go back to that night. You said you were up till midnight. You were reading something. What were you reading?
A chapter for school.
So this is where, again, I never, you know, I know this has been entertained a bunch of times. I know this is nothing really new. But again, I have a bigger picture, but this is kind of part of it. But, yeah, I was just reading some stuff. And yeah, I didn't really think about it, but, you know, of course, I think a lot of us have thought about, you know, of course, this was kind of a ruse for him to get over there. But to also back that up, I didn't even think about, you know, they're reading a book and then, you know, Sebastian's supposedly going off and, you know, we've never heard, you know, Crispy, he's always talking. We never heard like, oh yeah, when I was speaking to her, you know, I heard her speaking with Sebastian. I don't think he's ever mentioned that. Let me know. I could be wrong in chat, but I know it's either he's spoken a lot of interviews. Again, not saying that you couldn't do that, right? Especially if he was on the crane. But that's the other question. Was he even working? According to, I think, Silvers, correct me if I'm wrong, but I know he went out there and spoke to some alleged coworkers or former coworkers, whatever. And I believe he left. I forget what time, but before that phone call. And then he showed up early, allegedly at 5:15. They thought that was kind of odd because the light doesn't come up until like 6:30. Yeah, so kind of interesting. Alyssa says that site does not run at that. Is my audio okay? Maybe somebody mute it? Yes, Mama, we may go into that tomorrow. Maybe if we get a little bit of time, maybe we'll kind of go into that. I think that's very interesting, Mama. Yeah, I do want to talk about that.
A chapter for school. Are you in school?
I was, yes, ma'am. I've since dropped my classes for the time.
What are you studying?
Right.
Business administration.
Gotcha. Where do you go to school?
DeVry.
So that night you go to bed at midnight after you've been talking to Mr. Proudfoot on the phone. You put the dogs away in a cage, a crate, inside the home, and you go to bed. Did you check on Sebastian at that time?
I did not.
Okay. Do you normally?
Not typically. Since he's gotten older, I've not been checking on him as frequently throughout the night because normally he's good to go in his room once he goes to bed.
Earlier you had stated you heard a noise in his room before you went to bed. What time was that?
Around 10 o'clock.
10 p.m. What did it sound like?
Just a thud.
Oh.
A thud. You stated that you said, look, I don't care what you're doing in there, go to bed. Is that right?
I was on the couch, which is near his room, and I said, Bubba, did you...
So look where she's looking right here. I almost want to, because I never, because just what they say and how they look, just in general, they just do not look happy. They look, in my opinion, and I know it's not fair, but, at this point, I really don't care, but they look guilty as hell. And again, even many professionals, when they broke this down, I was like, sometimes they kind of say, they try to be devil's advocate, say, okay, well, they could just be super tired, right? But they just look guilty. I mean, we've talked about this so many times. Like, you could take some screenshots of this and say, like, here's the mugshot, right? Anyway, look. So if you notice their eyes, I really think, and this is something, again, because I was just getting highlights from this show today, but I started noticing something, and again, it's just a theory, but I do think that they have some kind of, master notes, some of the main things set up somewhere in front of their screen, and that way, because they do look what they're looking. They're both looking, and I've noticed that, and again, I could be wrong, but you'll notice when she's trying to talk with, because, my camera's up here. Some people, have it in the middle. I have mine up on the right. But, yeah, let me know what you think in chat. But, again, maybe one day, maybe a members live or something, we could look at it. But I do wonder, because they do look at a certain direction a lot, which is interesting. Now, they could just be looking at the monitor, and it's just Nancy, play devil's advocate. But man, sometimes when they look are under certain questions where, it's like a timeline or something. Again, just something to think about.
Did you fall out of the bed? And he said, no, ma'am. And I said, well, whatever you're doing in there, knock it off and go to sleep.
So you heard his voice at 10 p.m.?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have
See,
any
look
idea?
look where Chris is looking. Now she looks like, see, look, now they're looking at the same thing right there, right? I think, for anybody that's familiar with the Zoom, right now they are looking at her, and then their camera is up to the left, maybe. Well, actually, no, the camera's straight ahead. No. It's weird because they do kind of look up left a little bit, but you can tell right there she's looking at the screen, right? But notice there are times, and again, we've got so much other stuff that we're going to cover, but I just find it interesting. It'd be an interesting show to see how much they look over to this other direction, because right now they're looking at her, right, and her responses. But then there's times when they're answering her where they shift. And so, yeah. Oh. Yeah, they've always been so weird about people going in her house, and that's a great catch, Marie. Wish I knew. I've got some inside photos, obviously, from the previous homeowners or whatever, how they, pictures before they sold the home or whatever, that are on Zillow. Yeah. Roberta, I would pull that up. I just don't want to get into that. It looks like there's a lot of controversy there, and I just don't want to get into that. If somebody has like a tip they want to send me, they can email me, but I'm not going to play somebody's video, that I really don't know. It's not offense to them, but I just don't, and again, yeah, I just don't. It created a lot of divide in the chat yesterday, and I just don't want to even bring that up because so anyway.
What the sound actually was?
I do not know.
If he were to go out his window, what would he step on?
So again, yeah, that would be an interesting live to do, and of course zoom them in whenever they're not fully zoomed in, and really see, because again, you could tell when they're looking at the monitor of Nancy, but then there's a lot of times when they're looking at the other part or down lower, which to me tells me they could have notes.
Fiance's murder, or I talk about my dad's death.
So before we get it back into the timeline and Crispy and Carly, yeah, that goes good together. I wanted to put this in because I forgot Nancy asked them this, and this is hilarious.
I still cry, even when I swear I'm not going to. But everyone reacts differently. I'm going to throw this directly to Mr. and Mrs. Proudfoot. Much has been made. I'll ask you.
Meet the brand new Wondershare Uni Converter 14, the all-in-one video toolbox to convert, compress.
You very often look away, don't look at who's asking you questions, show no emotion. Much has been made of that, and I'd like to hear your response. I'm not judging one way or the other. I'd like to hear your response.
So again, look where they're looking. They are looking at Nancy. Again, I wish we could, this will have to be like a separate live or something, but again, when I was just going through and getting clips for today's live, I'm like, holy shit, they're looking over here a lot at certain times.
To the fact of not looking.
See? They're not looking. See, Chris is looking at her, but now look where Katie's at
the camera all the time is because a picture of my son is sitting beside me, and I'm looking at him.
Or are you looking at notes? That's why I also put that in there. Do you really got a photo of Sebastian right there, or do you got notes?
As far as the crying thing, I have been crying off and on nonstop for a month.
Many people have asked me, why did Miss Proudfoot not call 911 immediately? And here's your chance to answer that.
Yeah.
Because by the time I realized my son was missing and I called my husband, at that point I was hysterical. I was at the point where I couldn't even form words anymore, and my husband is the one who remained calm enough to call them.
And to be honest with you, Miss Grace, the way we live outside of city limits, so you don't call 911 because you get routed to a dispatching hub who asks what's your location, and then they route you to another dispatcher to talk to give this story. I cut all of that out and I called straight to the sheriff's department because they have jurisdiction of where we live. So sorry that I decided to bypass a few steps and go straight to the source, where they responded within 10 minutes of the phone call being made.
What is she looking at?
Miss Proudfoot.
Again, man, now the more I look at this, the more I want to do like a separate video on this, because she's disconnected and she's either I think she's looking at something.
Were you drinking?
No, ma'am.
Had you used any type of drug at all, even OTC, over the counter?
No, ma'am.
And you had no argument with Sebastian that
Every
night?
time she answers.
No, ma'am.
You stated you put the dogs away into a crate before you went to bed. Is the crate located near the exit, near a door?
No, ma'am.
Would the dogs have barked if...
That is so weird. I mean, maybe it could be natural. Again, I always try to look at both sides, but I do wonder if they've got something over there that they're always, notes.
there had been an intruder or if Sebastian had left?
The dogs don't typically bark at me and Sebastian because they're used to us. Even if we get up, we come around, they don't typically bark. Strangers, they do tend to bark, at least for a minute or two to get attention. But no, ma'am, they don't typically bark at Sebastian and myself or Christopher.
What kind of dogs are they?
Morkies.
Yeah.
Question.
Could be.
Where is their crate located?
Okay. All right. So now come back full circle. Again, I just want to play some of that. And get back to the timeline here. Okay, so obviously Katie gets back home. We have the 3-hour call. Does Crispy leave his phone? I think it's definitely plausible. The answer with the 3 hours and 37 minutes, doorstep to doorstep. It's just such a very detailed answer that just, I don't know. And just the number 3, I know people have mentioned that. Number 3 always popping up in this, so weird. Anyway, then we have the lights, and I think this could be, again, just one possibility. I think this could be Carly, and we have Crispy, who could be maybe the driver, right? That comes. Something happened. Carly maybe went over to help Katie if Sebastian did make it home. And then if he did make it home, they moved him. Or if he didn't make it home and it had already been moved, obviously they would need that clothing back. It's very interesting because there's one interview, I can't remember which one, hindsight probably no, or some others, where Katie does say, and I think it's on a couple of interviews, some older ones, where Katie's, mentions that, yes, the clothing he was seeing at Texas Roadhouse has been collected and has been turned over to law enforcement. I think there's one of them that she was allegedly quoted as that. So I find that very interesting that she would say, not only did we have those clothes, but they were turned over to law enforcement. It's kind of interesting. But if he didn't make it home, then they would be obviously getting those clothing back, right? And of course, that would also explain kind of the shoe thing, like, because they wanted to make sure the shoes would be proof, right? And the clothing that he made at home. But then maybe forgot, oh, well, leaving the shoes there, it looks stupid because him trying to run away and him having, the experience of stepping on fire ants. And I've heard so many people that have some kind of autism, children have some kind of form of autism or autistic. And a lot of them are very, particular, and especially with their footwear. So yeah. Which part, Susan? Again, if I had more time, we kind of delved into this, but with a little bit more deeper, I kind of go into where he would have been dropped off on the way back home. And this, the argument to him not making it back home is, allegedly you can't make it out. They can't tell if it's Sebastian. And allegedly he runs back, and apparently this person was wearing a hoodie, which, why would Sebastian be wearing a hoodie when, even though it's February, it wasn't really that cold. And again, he's just taking out the trash and going back in. Again, a lot of people say it's weird. Seth says he can, make it out as him. Yet it's very interesting that the mother, Katie, says, oh, it's so stupid. You can definitely tell by his mannerisms that the way he runs back, and she emphasizes the running back part, which, again, in theory, if it was actually her, well, then obviously, she'd wear a hoodie, know it's dark, take out the trash, because obviously the trash can's very big, so you wouldn't be able to really make out the figure. You would just have kind of a blob. And then if she runs back, at least that part, you could say, oh, well, that's a mannerism of Sebastian. So, that'd be smart on them. Again, just one side of a theory. And again, like I said, I'm like 50-50 on either one. Either one would not surprise me. So moving on. But I do think there's a good possibility that subject one is Carly. Because there's a lot of alleged connection between them. Because again, Crispy was out of the picture for a while, and so she probably needed help around the house, right? And maybe other things, other needs, and then of course, I don't want to get too personal, but with Carly, apparently his wife was sick, and that's all I'll mention because I still want to try to be respectful. But anyway, let's just say allegedly, I don't know if more free time, because I don't know if that would make sense, but anyway, moving on.
But if people just do the math with the help of FBI
with this, with Chris and Katie,
and who couldn't, so the one, I think they started about 2 p.m. So I'm not saying there's any excuse for that in the John Bonet case, but that was a much.
Anyway, we're gonna skip this. Obviously, this comes from Chris Carr, which again, I hope TBI and FBI has this footage. But I promise you, they do know that it's out there. So hopefully, if they didn't have it before, they got it. And again, just also to show the connection and the kind of maybe the possible corruption. And again, the only person that was able to get this footage allegedly was Fish Sticks, which obviously was connected to the stink feed. And I think they just probably got select clips for them to kind of try to prove, again, this narrative. Oh, look, there's nothing going on. Look, it's 306. Nothing going on. Nothing to see here. I'm just going to blur half the photo. But yeah, look, there's nothing going on here. But yeah, so weird that he would be able to get that footage, right? And why not? Why not post it? He's posted just about everything else. But he's going to just post a screenshot, right? Which is ridiculous. Okay, so now let's see, what time do we start? Are you going to get towards the end here? Okay, perfect. And we're going to go over something. Oh, what am I doing? Go over a topic I haven't really touched on before. And I think this will be very interesting. You may or may not heard it. Kiki says, long dispatch mentions a purple hoodie. Oh, yes. I do recall hearing that. Oh, I missed this. Shellbell from Australia, or Aus. Thank you for the membership. I don't know. That got kind of mixed in. Kindly, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. I appreciate that. God bless you. I do, but I've been, I don't know, I'll have to, because I want to be very careful, right? I mean, it's not hard to probably look him up if you're interested. He's got the first name Crispy and then Carr with 2 R's. And yeah. Maybe in the future, but right now I just kind of want to be careful. But yeah, that's not a bad question. Anyway, so here I got the timeline. When she woke up, she speaking with Crispy. I told others that he arrived back at work at 5:15. Then allegedly another coworker said he actually didn't get there until 6:30, and that came from Silvers, who I know is a very reliable source. And if you look at the time difference between if the abduction or whatever happened, exchange, whatever way you want to put it, scenario A or B, that happened around 3 to 3:10. Then if he arrived back at work at 6:30, then that gives him over 3 hours to make it back to Memphis. So maybe that was on, if you really kind of think about it, you get to midnight and then 6 o'clock. So you have 12 and 6, right? This is when they kind of think, well, they kind of say 10 and 6, but for Crispy, 12 and 6. So you got 3 hours to get there, do whatever, and then you have another 3 hours, or a little less than 3 hours to get back. But of course, especially if he had his phone call and that was left there, he would already been back by, midnight or whatever. Yeah. Yeah, Diane, I see what you're saying. Yeah, people find it odd. It's like 3 hours. I don't know. And of course we have her coming. Oh, did I? Oh, I had that up. This is acting really. You know what? Hold on 1 second. And we're gonna get to one last thing here. I probably said this will be something interesting we haven't touched on before. This is being really weird. This is Google. Oh, it's an O. There it is. Okay. So remember, she gets this call, right? They do this interesting three-way call, starting around, somewhere around 6:03 or 6:05, I guess. She's seen outside around 6:20. Maybe it could be a little bit earlier, 6:10, 6:15. She allegedly is seen leaving around 6:20, going to the school. And she's back within 10 minutes. So this is really only a 3-minute drive, but why did I do that? Well, what's interesting is I'm not sure exact path she took, but I'm guessing there's a good possibility that she took this route right here. And then that takes you to this. So this would pop out right here because she was seen at the school just milling right through. And then what if that was all a ruse? So it looks like she's going to look for him. And there's the units. And apparently, until I actually see for myself like some kind of evidence. But apparently they own units there, or a unit. And allegedly, rumor is that I've heard cadaver dogs allegedly hit on one of them. But that is rumor. Take that with a huge grain of salt. Because, again, you guys, I like to really be careful with, those kind of rumors. But one that's a little bit more stronger, I think that them owning a unit is pretty solid. The cadaver dog, I think, is a little, until I, talk to some trusted sources about that. Get more details, I want to say just take that with a big grain of salt. And then we have sighting of Mama Socks, CB. Tina says that was debunked. And that could be. And that's why I say take it with a big grain of salt. I think that them owning the unit, I think, has more weight. But the Mama Socks thing, I think, holds a lot of weight. So I think there could have been some kind of handoff, clothing and or Sebastian here or here. And that was the reason why she was zooming back to the school, make it look like she was looking for him. Again, because why would you drive all the way to the school? You've already been on the phone allegedly for 10 minutes now. You should probably know by then, if you're on the three-way call with this sheriff's office or whatever, you should probably know, because she says, I think she says at least two different things. Like when she was at the school, she was told that she needs to turn around. And then I think another time when she was in the neighborhood, she was told, oh, now she needs to turn around. So I have no idea, of course, doesn't surprise me if you're not telling the truth. I just don't understand if you've already been on that phone, they're going to be coming. Yet, so what is really the point of driving to this school and you're just bellowing through it? Again, we mentioned this. Why wouldn't you just stop and find the first, person that works at the school to say, hey, look, my son is missing. Please pass this along by chance if he's seen at school. And then get back in and then, but that never happened. So, what was the point? There had to been, if this is all nefarious, I think there was a reason this particular route and destination had to have some kind of rhyme or reason behind it. Okay, Mama. So Seth, okay. Okay. I think the unit thing has a little bit more weight to it. The Mama Socks has probably the most weight to it. The cadaver dogs, I would say, yeah, huge grain of salt. And it may not surprise me if that's been debunked. Just because the couple people I've seen it come from. But the fact that she took this drive is kind of the main point. And then, again, why? Oh, Kiki. That's interesting. Yeah. I would love to see that for sure. Oh, yeah. I mean, you got to be careful with, like I said, when people start playing things without any kind of context, just like that one image that's supposedly shows Chris and Katie putting Sebastian in a car. Again, that was sent to me long before anybody else put that out, and I'm like, well, this isn't coming from the 3 a.m. video. There's no way in hell you're zooming in on something. And if you can zoom in on that, why not show like the bigger picture, like zoom back? Like, what are we looking at? Again, it was too, yeah. And I know some people still believe in it, still push it. And, again, until I see something that, that somebody can explain it. This came from somebody, but, I don't know why they couldn't show like the bigger picture of whatever they're zoomed in on. Because I know it's not the 3M video that I study, because there's just no way. So anyway, I digress. And then here's her at 6:32. And again, one story says that when she was at the school, she was told to turn around and come back. And then I think there was another story where I think it was in the documentary that she did with was America's Most Wanted, and she's actually reenacting it. And I think in that one, correct me if I'm wrong, she's saying, yeah, when I was going through the neighborhood, then I was told, yeah, law enforcement is on their way. But again, you started this 3-way call at the latest 6:05, 6:06. So you had to have known that they're going to be on their way. So again, what was the reason behind this 10-minute trip or whatever, 10, 15-minute trip? It's really, really odd. Yes. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
And we played games. And this is just Bubba.
Okay, so we started at 6:45. Okay, last thing, guys, and huge shout out to my wonderful mods coming in here late. I apologize, it's a little bit later. One more thing we'll cross up on. Has there been dogs been out there? I don't know, honestly. When it comes to the dogs, I mean, especially in the beginning, it's just a mess, and I think Crispy has just turned that into a circus. In more recent times, I don't know. Left at 11 a.m. Got home and work 5 hours later when you said 3 hours. Yeah, but yeah. Okay, one last thing to touch on that we haven't. I don't think we've ever talked about on this channel. And it's very interesting.
$1,012 Kellen Lane.
Okay. One more thing, and then the final part. So another thing to back up with Carly. Sorry, I got to be very careful. Is the dispatch audio
Through 20 of 2012 go through the entire. The lady at 1032 Kellen runs the neighborhood Facebook page, and she's updating it to request people to look in their crawl spaces and hidden areas. Hey, on at 1,000 Kellen Lane, did y'all happen to check the crawl space? I will have to check my list, but
coming up.
Wasn't locked from the outside. It was checked. 1018 Stafford. They are reviewing their camera footage right now. 18 contact and the cameras checked. No, that's not.
184 your low volume. They got cameras checked.
It was 1018. And I'll be out at St. John Missionary, 1085. Resident at 1028 Kellen Lane states that he just saw a kid with a...
Here it is.
Good, was been out at 0745 this morning.
2-4. We will stand that in good. Can we retry that, please?
10-4, will do.
12188. Go ahead, sir. Can you come to 1008, please? 12 to any units that are going to be assisting with 1008. Please come to 1008 Stafford Court.
There it is. Here
Now,
it comes.
please. Start at the beginning of Kelly Lane 1000. We're going to work our way north of Kelly Lane. That's fine. I'll get these two houses right here, and we'll take the right side.
I thought I shortened this.
The white Ford truck, that's the Hendersonville officer's house that's with me.
So right there, that is so, again, that's so sus. Apparently Henderson PD was there before Sumner County. Remember, they allegedly called, the sheriff's office or whatever. But who showed up there first? Henderson. And who is Carly? Well, he's a reserved HPD. So kind of interesting. He is now with them driving around. Is he there, making sure, keeping a tab on what's going on, right? So that Hendersonville's officer house, that's with me, that is Carly with them driving around. Oh, that is interesting. Yeah, maybe I'll write that down, just in case. Thank you, Kiki. No, I think, I think it depends on how they mean the three-way call, because obviously Katie's speaking with Crispy. Now, does Crispy have a secondary phone where he's on like speaker? And that's what he means by a three-way call. So, Katie's speaking to Crispy, and then Crispy's got a secondary phone which is on speaker. Or does he have, a three-way call going with them? Either one's possible. But anyway, back to this. I know we've touched on this, but one last thing. But very sus.
The next house up is
super
the white Ford in the driveway. We log a neighborhood Facebook page. Post was made 1023. Check. No motion on camera.
Okay.
Additional caller call in. That was
139.
Haley Wilkes, the nonprofit organization.
Okay. Final thing, and then we'll wrap up, guys. Sorry, I'm going to go a little bit. I tried to go like an hour and a half, but I do appreciate everybody. We've had like, unless my thing's stuck, we've had over 800 people in here. So I really appreciate everybody being in here. So this is the final thing. This is something I haven't mentioned before. And this all connects. So let me play this. This is probably about 10-15 more minutes.
Joined the search for the teen missing out of Hendersonville last weekend. But as News 2's Sarah Smith reports, the group says the search has now become too dangerous.
The volunteer group United Cajun Navy reportedly getting death threats for their efforts in finding Sebastian Rogers. Sumner County Commissioner Don Schmidt shares his concerns.
I did receive a phone call from Skip Butler a couple of days ago, and he had reached out to me. And as soon as he told me that, that he was getting death threats and they were, fearing for their safety, I said, you need to call law enforcement right away.
It's unclear who the threats are coming from.
So this was very odd. Never heard of, people, especially like Cajun Navy who, they got boats, right? They're literally searching for Riley Strain, heavily involved in that. And then here they come, come and try to, support this case. So back-to-back cases. I'm sure they're probably exhausted. And anyway, but yeah, so they start getting threatened. But trust me, this will all come full circle here in just a
Cajun
minute.
Navy says they plan to start the search back up, but in private, adding that they don't want certain groups or personalities getting in the way. The group also taking to their Facebook page to share this post, writing anyone that impedes on their search will be a person of interest.
Now, I understand people are, speculating, and I get it. That's just the nature of our society, especially when it comes to social media. But, I would like to see that energy from speculating diverted to finding Sebastian.
The sheriff's office says they'll give an update on Sebastian's disappearance Tuesday. Schmidt says check with deputies before searching on your own.
I'm concerned of the welfare and the safety of our citizens out there searching. If they search on properties that they just don't have permission to search, or if they just, disturb anything or contaminate anything, those are the biggest fears.
1 month later, this community hopeful Sebastian is alive. His story even catching the attention of people across state lines.
Gosh forbid he...
So much ground.
Okay. So that was Cajun Navy. Sometime mid-March or early March, somewhere in there. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, there's a couple of vehicles. Yeah, and he definitely has at least one truck because obviously he has the trailer. I think you're right. Anyway. Trust me, this is all going to come full circle. I have to kind of be vague on the entire thing, but trust me, this is something I haven't brought up before. It's very interesting and disturbing. So there's Cajun Navy, and they did multiple interviews before this press conference. And I even spoke to a particular individual who was with Cajun Navy, and oh my God, when they saw this press conference, they were livid. So here we go. Here's Honest Craddock.
Searching, going back, researching, checked out every case of a possible sighting, nothing confirmed. Not a trace of Sebastian anywhere. Nothing found. No footprints, no video, nothing.
Nothing that has taken us to locate Sebastian.
And are there any working theories?
We come up with theories almost daily and try and investigate and make sure that
Sebastian's mom and stepdad's involvement in this case, and as a follow-up, have cleared their alibi.
I think the TBI said it best. They've been nothing but cooperative with law enforcement since day one of this investigation. There is no evidence to support foul play on the part of Sebastian's parents.
Yet you ran a 3D scanner and you guys looked in the landfill. You had to get a warrant to do that. You would have to have some kind of suspicion of foul play to probably get something like that to search a landfill. And why would you be bringing in equipment? And I think when TBI, obviously, something like this 3D scanner isn't something that's commonly used. especially in this kind of case, unless they're thinking there's some kind of foul play. Anyway, and then let's not forget Katie lawyered up last year. Other channels have mentioned that, but that is no secret. She lawyered up in August of last year, August or September, which was coincidentally right around the time that FBI, just before or after, right? July, August, September. Was it September that the 6 months? Okay, September. Yeah. Coincidentally, shortly after that, the FBI put out that $50,000 reward, mentioning more or less that they believed it was some kind of possible abduction. Yeah.
They would have to call the police and report them.
Are we able to learn anything about what those threats are?
They would have to call the police and report them.
Where does the search go from here? It's been 5 weeks. There's been no signs. Do you threats?
No, sir.
They've claimed they've received threats. To your knowledge, have they filed any police reports or reports to the Sheriff's Department documenting any of these alleged threats?
No, sir.
Yes, they did. And they are pissed. They are so pissed that he did this. To Cajun Navy, it's messed up.
Are we able to learn anything about what those threats are?
They would have to call the police and report them.
It's unreal. So there's a connection, and I have to kind of be vague, but there's a reason why I'm bringing this up, and I think there could be a connection to this, and you'll see what I'm talking about. And this is the final thing.
Does Sebastian know the code?
Not to the...
Okay, so she's going to ask them about the keypad lock on their home. Something I think we mentioned once before in a live before, but I learned a little bit more about this keypad. I can't say too much, but let's listen to this question and then, yeah. Oh, Heather, thank you so much for the PayPal. You are so sweet. God bless. Thank you so much.
The garage door, but to the man doors.
That sounds possible.
Not to the garage door, but to the house doors?
The regular door, yes.
So is there a code to get in your home, or do you use a regular key?
There's a code.
And he knows that code?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, Whitney. So so Cajun Navy, when they came, just shortly after they showed up, and they had a bunch of different team members, they have and they have, a very, they have a big resource, which is boats, right? I don't know how many boats they have or whatever, exactly all resources, but, obviously what they're kind of known for, at least especially in the Riley Strain, is they're out there with their boats, searching for Riley Strain. And then they came over, and obviously there's... Sorry, like my neighbor below me is like knocking on a wall. It sounded like someone was knocking on my door. Anyway, yeah, that's annoying. So I apologize. So discussing that they come in and now they get threats. And anyway, and then so the question was to Craddock. So on that April 2nd press conference, I asked him like, hey, we heard United Cajun Navy has received, kind of different threats, death threats or whatever. And he, and she says, have you heard anything about that? Or is it true or something like that? And he says, no, we haven't gotten any reports. And that is not true. I have spoken to people that were on that team, and yeah, they were pissed because again, they're coming out there, to help search, and they get death threats, and not only that, then the sheriff goes up on a press conference and lies about their threats that they're getting? Could you imagine that? Like you're going out on your free time to help, and you're experiencing death threats. These strange people that are, I don't want to get too detailed, but there's some incidents that happen with them, and yeah, pretty scary. I don't know, but I will say I love Twyla and Dave. Trust me when I say those are amazing people. Those are from Texas EquiSearch. I've literally worked with both of them. I have footage. Literally, I could play it now, but anyway, that would not surprise me. Those people, those are honest people. Trust me. Yeah. Anyway, last thing, and I promise this whole United Cajun Navy. Again, I have to be very vague, but it comes back to the door lock and stuff. So they had, allegedly, from what I understand, obviously we know that they had a key lock. What I have heard before and heard recently is that this one had a particular app, and I do remember hearing this before. This has been talked about. Not much on this channel, but I do remember hearing this. But yeah, so apparently you can have an app for this thing. It can be Bluetooth and or Wi-Fi. And so there's other ways to unlock it dependent on the model. There's many different models. We don't know which model, but apparently, allegedly, the model that they had, if you have an app, is you get, and I couldn't really find a good example, but you can see here where it says, this one's a fingerprint one. Well, it's both, but you can see where there's a day. It's records. So each time the door is opened, there's a record of it, which makes sense. That way, if you're not home, somebody opens up your door, you get notified. Especially maybe if you don't have cameras, somebody goes through your door somehow, you would know. So yeah. Anyway, so very interesting, because if they did have that, then they should know there's only one door he's going out, right? Because if he goes out the garage, there's no way in hell he's not captured on the camera across the street. There's just no way in hell. The garage lights are, there's just no way in hell. Then it only leaves the back door, right? Backyard, which they said the door was locked, right? So again, with their theory that he went out the front door, well, wouldn't you just be able to go, hey, look, yeah, at 1 a.m. or 1:15, here he went out the door, right? So one last thing, I have to be very vague with this, but let's just say there may be a connection with Cajun Navy speaking with them, because they did speak with him, so this is no secret. They've spoken with Chris and Katie. Because obviously if you're going to go search for someone's child, you need to get information where people are at and all that stuff. And Texas Cowgirl, thank you so much. I'm sorry, I feel like I better address this. Keep up the amazing hard work. Thank you for all you do. Thank you so much, Texas. Thank you so much, sweetheart. You are a legend. God bless you. But what if there was some conversations about stuff that they may have wanted to look at or something, and some people didn't follow through, and then maybe they felt this team was getting too close to something, and then would it be a stretch to say that after they started kind of investigating a little bit, that they started getting death threats. Again, there's more to that, but I don't think I'm at liberty to dive deeper than that. But yeah, apparently, rumor has it they had an app. Rumor has it, and I'd say it's more likely than not. So you would think if he went out that front door, they would have just been like, yeah, we checked our thing, but no mention. So yeah, I think there's different types of EquiSearch, but yeah, they're great people. Now, I think I know there was a few of them that I think in the beginning, kind of defended the Proudfoots. And, again, when you're working with a family and you want to believe in them, I don't blame them for, again, they're just there to search, right? So keep that in mind. But those are great people. And if they, again, for those that have been with me for a long time know, I worked with them. Oh my God. I even have a clip of us in the car with those people and more. One of the funniest things ever. But yeah. So anyway. So yeah, what do you guys say? It's pretty wild. Yep. I would not be surprised if this Cajun Navy, this thing here, was connected, and yeah, pretty wild. Oh, thank you, Kiki. God bless. Yeah. So before I finish up, thank you so much to everybody. I mean, we've had almost basically 800 people in here this entire time. Thank you guys so much for being polite in the chat, respectful. And I've been reading chat. Trying to interact with chat more. Of course, we're going to be focusing on this case because I've got to build these reports and stuff. Obviously, that's no secret. We've been doing that. And I would say I'm like 60, 70% done, maybe. And then we're going to, I'm going to do a Twitter thread, and then we'll post it, and then we'll all kind of go over there and kind of bump it and, tag FBI and TBI in it. And that'll have all the data, all the meat and potatoes of the 3 a.m. and, all the work that we've been doing. Oh, thank you, Sassy. Gifting a Mobcurth membership. And thank you so much for modding as well. You are so sweet. I don't know if that doubled up. So if you sent 2, thank you. It's weird. Sometimes it always shows 2. But either way, thank you, Sassy, for all the help. Oh, thank you, Hindsight. Right back at you. So yeah. Again, I'm sorry to be vague, but again, some of this stuff has been talked about. I just don't know how deep it has, and I have to kind of be careful. Oh, she did send it. Okay, yeah. It's weird because a lot of times I'll see it, like I'll get doubles, and it's just really weird, and I can't tell if it's just repeated or yeah. So, but thank you guys. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday. Tomorrow, they're showing Stranger Things, the first 5 minutes. Any Stranger Things fans in here? Let me know before we go. I'm a huge Stranger Things fan. I love sci-fi, and that's been such an amazing show. I'm so stoked for it. But yeah, last thing I was going to say, while you guys answer that, we will kind of do other cases so it doesn't get stale, right? There's just, there's many reasons why we're heavily focused on Sebastian. many reasons. Because I've got ties to a lot of locals there, and they are, they want to find Sebastian, and they've been, some of these people have been through it, and they need to. Hey, Nick the Hack, good to see you, brother. Hope you're doing well. There's just so many people that have been involved at behind the scenes, in general, and we need answers. So anyway, like I said, I'm building a report, and and all that good stuff. So, love Stranger Things. Hell yeah, I do. I think it's a great show. I can't wait for the finale. Cannot wait. But tomorrow they're going to show the first 5 minutes of the first episode, which is really cool. The cold open, as they call it. So again, thank you to my mods, and we will see you guys. Likely tomorrow. I got to see what time they're doing that. I forgot what time they're doing it. So I'll either go before or after. So, yeah. Yeah, we miss Nick. We hope you're still out there. I know you guys are still working behind the scenes and stuff, but yeah.